venture into agriculture and we are not able to meet our demands, right, in the market. And basically because the demand for food is high and the production is low, and there aren't skilled farmers, then we begin to suffer. However, when we have farmers, then you see this demand can be met, and if they are paid fairly, for instance, they have fair wages, then you could tell that there's maybe a lot more purchasing power for them to also patronize certain sectors of the economy by so doing boosting the GDP. So yeah, that's basically the idea of the conversation.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Kumau. Now, tell us, what are some of those benefits that we stand to gain as a country when we dignify labor? When we respect labor, regardless of the picture or perception that we have about whatever it is that that person is doing.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
All right.
One of the benefits that would stand to benefit as regards to labor, fair wages.
Okay.
And just treatment, and inequality, and reducing high cost of living.
Okay, reduced inequality because we begin to see ourselves as being equal. Nobody is more equal than the other person. And I also think that it could also build the right attitude towards wealth creation, because we are beginning to, justify some form, I don't know, because we dehumanize some people for just choosing some profession. You see people taking the fast lane because they want to make it, and at the end of the day, we're having people wanting to create wealth even illegally. We're having people wanting to just create wealth illegally. So if you could just expatiate more on the benefits of dignity of labor in our country.
All right, thank you very much. We live at a time now where the way forward to our economic woes is diversifying our source of income, our source of productivity, however it is you want to look at it. And our over-reliance over the past few years in the petrol sector, for instance, and other white-collar jobs have hampered the growth that we need to resolve the economic woes of the country. And just as you have mentioned, this is because certain professions are dehumanized, right?
Yes.
So if people go into agriculture, for instance, just as I have mentioned, but maybe elaborately now, a lot of people will have jobs. They'll have a reason to step out. And not only do they have jobs, right? They become really productive because they are imputing directly into the economic situation of the country by providing the products that they produce from their farms and whatever inputs they have, maybe livestock and so when they go to the farm, we know commerce is born to happen. When they go to the market, I beg your pardon. So when commerce happens, they also have money, right? They have something in their hand, and then people get what they came to purchase from them. That finance that they have actually give them the purchasing power for a lot of other things. And where do they spend that money, right? They go to the market. And does it have a direct implication on our economy? Yes, because there's more purchasing power. You could tell that basically they could meet up with a lot of pressure that might come as a result of having none as opposed to not having. Then that's an increase to the economic GDP at the end of the day. So you see, there are a lot of things that have been resolved. Number one, a job has been created and a skill has been developed, just because people do not look down on farmers, right? Everybody that goes to school feel the need to come back, right? And then venture into maybe agriculture and all of that. Then secondly, aside the job being created and skill being developed, they could get like a fair wage,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Which is what I said, when they get paid for maybe their service or the products that they've taken to the market.
Yes.
They are getting fair wages, and thirdly, those fair wages they will take actually to purchase things that they also need, right, and thereby boosting the economic situation of the country. So you see, it's just not a one-way thing, right? So we shouldn't by all means condescend on certain professions, because we do not know the ripple effects, the consequences
That
that it
on our
has
economy.
on our economy. If we were to meet the potential that we have as a nation, as an agricultural nation, for instance, we'll never be talking about food insecurity, for instance, because we have fertile lands that a lot of products can thrive on, and all of that. But not to talk about agriculture as much, we also have innovative sectors, right?
Okay.
And for instance, shoe cobblers, right? There are a lot of people who are making waves. We wear products and call the designer names, right?
Yeah.
We basically worship some designers.
Yes.
And we could go all length to buy
Their designs.
their design for huge profit.
Yes.
Thereby, maybe these shoes are made in Italy. While you buy, these people pay taxes, right? And they
Yes.
also have a strengthened purchasing power, and it affects their economy directly, right?
Yes.
Thereby also reducing, because all the reason why we are not buying some Nigerian products is just see finish, if you ask me, right?
finish,
You
because
see
it's our
finish
own.
Because it's our own.
Yes.
So we look out, because there are more qualitative goods in Nigeria than you could even find out there. So because we're on air and I'm not allowed to
Of
maybe
course,
call
of
certain
course, of
names,
course.
right?
But we know,
But
we know that. Yes.
these things happen. We go buy substantial products and reach in other countries while we struggle. You might think, okay, you could purchase, but then the ripple effect directly hampers your own growth too, because you'll be paying heavily for certain things here
Yeah.
because they are imported, right?
Yes.
How about you having exports and having more of the money here, right? How about encouraging and thereby encouraging more to meet up demands? How about all of basically the other what do they call it, benefits that have been mentioned earlier? So we need to actually look into this critically and see how we could basically as a nation prosper.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Now, looking into how we could, begin to dignify labor, begin to appreciate labor, regardless of whatever it is that people are doing. How do you think we can, begin to stop criticizing people for their profession, or trying to talk down on them, whether they are a shoe cobbler, whether they are, these people who clean, I don't know what you call it now. There is a name for it.
Plumbers?
Plumbers. But the other one, there is a name for it. But it's probably called Sockaway, but there is a name. Yes, those kind of things. How do you think that we can begin to change our orientation so that we will appreciate whatever form of labor? Because having dignity of labor begins from we appreciating it. So what are those steps you think that we can take as a country collectively to start appreciating labor, regardless of whatever profession it is?
Okay. I think by building a solid foundation,
Okay.
it helps like a nation to grow faster, and then also investing.
Okay.
Like instead of investing in outside, like he said, he made mention of buying designers product
Yes,
from outside.
yes.
When we invest in our own product that we produce here, it helps the country to grow, and also your employing labor as well. It takes people out of the streets, and then reduces crime and other activities
Okay.
that would hinder the growth of
The
a
economy.
country
Yeah.
and the economy
Okay.
at
So,
large.
so basically, if we learn to invest more in Nigeria, we will get that appreciation. Imagine that even on the part of the government, some of these cobblers, apart from you try, everything in this life is packaging. Yes, imagine you pick them off from the street. Okay, if instead of you carrying the regular or conventional thing that you're carrying like this, let's upgrade you, let's empower you, so that even when somebody's looking at you, they are not underrating you that, oh, you're just a mere cobbler or shoemaker, as we call it here. So I think that what she's basically trying to say is the fact that we need to look at the bigger picture, invest in these people, invest in labor. Yes, invest in labor in whatever form, so that we can upgrade ourselves and also change the narrative. And also the fact that you said employment is another thing. Sometimes people are capable, but we do not get to do the employment thing the right way. I don't know how I'm going to put it, but maybe because of the way the high unemployment rate as well, people tend to like, okay, even if you go to school, you're not going to get a job now, so what are you going to school for? Or you are studying this course, is it all these people, they don't really do much, or begin to talk down on a certain profession because of the values have been dropped, the bar has been dropped. So you see people talk down on certain professions in this part because the bar has been dropped. So she's basically just saying that we need to make every profession to look better than what it used to be. I think that way has a way of changing the perception as well. Yes, all right, thank you so much, Halima. Now moving on to the next part, where I get to ask you on a more conclusive note, because our time is fast spent, what are those consequences that we would face if we do fail to dignify labor in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. And it goes without saying that crime rates would actually increase greatly, because people do not see the dignity in certain labors, and they feel ashamed to be engaged in the labors that is within their reach. Right? You see a lot of graduates, maybe for instance, graduating, and they don't see agriculture as something that is fit for their status as graduates, right? To venture into. So it's not even an option. They take it away because this profession have been branded negatively to them, right? So they take it away, and instead of concentrating on how they can grow a skill or venture into agriculture, a vocational skill or so, maybe be a cobbler and promote their brands, they would probably just go and start burgling, start stealing, or go into internet fraud, as it's evident within our society today, right?
Yes.
So this is one consequence actually of not dignifying the labors that we have. Another consequence can
sorry about that,
it be corruption actually, that we are seeing evidently in a lot of government offices. A lot of government office holders would rather have themselves siphoning funds that is meant for projects that will benefit every citizen, right? Or even benefit the citizens at large, or the nation at large. Instead of them to think about how they can diversify, do another thing just like every other person
is doing,
right, that is doing, they would rather want to siphon funds because they feel like they are bigger than others, and they shouldn't be found doing certain professions and all of that. Another consequence can actually be being poverty, right, being more, and then inflation within our economy, because we cannot reach the demand of the people, because we aren't producing, right? And we aren't producing because we do not dignify certain labor, right? Then we will depend highly on importation of goods that we would have been able to produce right here. Now hampering our productivity, and also inflating the cost of things within the Nigerian market. So these are some of just a few of them.
Yes, there are actually a lot.
Exactly.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Kamal, the coordinator for society generation for societal change. And I have here with me also Aliyu Halima, and I've been talking to us about the need to promote dignity of labor as a key strategy for preventing economic crisis in Nigeria, because when we begin to uphold the labor, it will be more efficient in projecting our economy, because we are beginning to appreciate our own more. So regardless of what this person is doing, so long as it's legal, even if it doesn't look glamorous, we still have to appreciate it, because it's putting food on the table, and they are also contributing in one way or the other to the economy or the growth of the economy, so to say. Well, thank you so much for coming. I do not know if you have final words so that we can just wrap it up right here.
Yeah, so my final word is something that every listener have heard before, and I'll still go on to say, because it's actually relatable every time of the day. A world that you create is a world that your sons and daughters cannot escape. And what am I trying to mean with this? You could actually feel like you could afford a life for yourself right now, because you are afforded a lot of wealth. But someday you would go, and it's the values that you instill in your society that would sustain your family, that will sustain your children.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And if you do not instill the right values, they cannot thrive in a society basically that is not identical to the value that they have. So let's be careful with what we put out there. Let's try as much as possible to promote something that is more sustainable, and leave the selfishness that is eating us up just really fast.
Leave the selfishness that is eating us up has become a cankerworm, actually.
Yeah.
Well, Halima, I do not know if you have final words before we round it up right here on the show.
Okay, I would just add to what he said.
All right, please.
Just build like a strong foundation and a legacy that your kids can be proud of after you've left this world.
Okay.
Because you can acquire some kind of wealth for yourself. You're comfortable right now. You don't know when you'll be called to leave the world, and then you don't know how these resources that you left behind are going to be used and utilized, whether your kid is going to benefit from it or not. So the culture and the upbringing you imbibe in your kids is actually a lot more.
Yes, I like the angle that you keep emphasizing on the need to have a foundation and a legacy, because when we begin to live as Nigerians with the mindset that we are more conscious about the good name that we leave, I think somehow it's going to affect the entire country, because you're doing your good in your family, but as your kids are mingling with other kids, are mingling with other children, or in other circles of socialization, it will continue to affect other people, and like that the good name will continue to go on. So thank you so much for coming once again, even though it was quite a very short one due to compared to the ones we've always had, but I'm hoping that next week is still going to be even better and more of a bump than this. Thank you so much for always making it easy for us. Thank you so much, Halima. I hope to see
Thank
you
you
more
for
often.
having me.
All right, thank you very much. There you have it. It's all about appreciating what we do, no matter how little. Do not be too big for any job. So long as it's legal, please take it on and keep doing what you can do to contribute your quota to the good Nigeria that we want to see, because the Nigerian dream is where we want to see a country that works for anyone without they having to know someone that knows someone that knows somebody. So let's keep it on, because we know that this is the only country that we have. No matter how far you run, Nigeria will always be your country. Thank you so much. I am Cassandra Yinimbe. Keep listening to Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja. Remember, the next hour, which is the last but definitely not the least on the Media Extra Show, is where we get to take you way back, bring you some of the good old things, the good old days where everything was a little bit better. Well, we will definitely get there. Keep listening to Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja. Please hang on in there.
Are you ready for this?